Okay, fuckers, the next thing you really need is a tripod. You need to put your camera onto a tripod. Now for this experiment here, I'm gonna go, do you need to go full frame or is DX photography okay? Look, full frame is best. You've got a better viewfinder view. It's a little bit nicer, but doesn't really matter, fuckers. Doesn't really matter. Your good quality glass and a good quality camera is always going to help. So I'm going to use a DX format for this experiment. We're going to put the lens on. Okay, let's get this fucking lens on here. So I'm using this is the Nikon 60mm macro lens. And because it's a crop sensor, it's going to act like about 100mm. Okay, do a Google on crop sensors and find out what I'm talking about if you have no fucking idea. But it doesn't, look, for all intents and purposes, I'm putting a macro lens on the camera. So that's the important thing, okay. So we've done that. Now let's get our site ready, fuckers. Let's get the site ready. And let's get ready for shooting. We're going to do some shooting. So the next thing I'd really recommend for you fuckers is to your wristwatch, whatever you're going to be shooting. I prefer wristwatches to be stopped. That's right, not running, because I like to use a slow shutter speed. So we're just going to be very careful. This is my Explorer 2. I'm just going to give it a wipe over, just to remove any dust and stuff like particles off it there. So we're just going to do that. Okay, now be careful not to start the fucker, because if we do that... Okay, so inside our light box here, I'm going to place this down. Place it down for photographing. So try and put it at the back there, so that I can get a nice... There we go. We've got the hands are stopped, which is fine. I would have liked the second hand to be not where it is, but beggars can't be choosers, fuckers. Beggars can't be choosers. Okay, so we've got our light box, we've got our lights on. Now the other tip is that often with these fluorescent type bulbs here, these are energy efficient ones, they take a while to get to the optimum light. So you want to give it 5 minutes for them to warm up a bit there. Okay, now let's talk settings on our camera. It doesn't matter if you're a Nikon shooter or a Nikon man. Okay, it's very simple. We're going to put the camera, I'm going to put the camera into manual mode, fuckers. That's right, scary stuff, manual mode. Okay, manual mode. And then what we're going to do is, I'm going to set the shutter speed. What shutter speed would I like there? I'd like a shutter speed of between 1 and 4 seconds. So that's a very, very slow shutter speed. And a shutter speed like that, you're really going to have to be using a tripod, because you can't hold the fucking thing. You can't hold the thing down at all. You know what I'm saying? So yep. So shutter speed. Let's get this fucker. I've just got to get this fucker. Let's get the shutter speed. I'm just going to reduce it. Say two seconds. Yep, it's doing it okay. That's fine. Just a quick test shot there. Obviously, you can't hold the camera for 2 seconds because it's going to get shake. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So our settings for our camera, shutter speed is going to be about 2 seconds. The ISO itself there, we're going to set the ISO. I like to have an ISO of about 100 or 200. Okay, so that's going to give us high quality. And the aperture itself there, we can, I normally 16 would be a nice aperture to have there. Okay, so let's get this onto the camera stand, because we can't possibly shoot that. So let's run those settings again. So we're going to put the camera into manual mode. We want a slow shutter. So the shutter is going to stay open. So we're going to have to use a tripod. I use a shutter speed of between 1 and 4 seconds. We want an ISO. ISO is something you can play around with. I think 200 would be a nice ISO for this. And we want an aperture. We want most of the stuff in focus, so I'm going to use like about a 16. I think that's a good aperture to use there. So now let's get the camera onto the tripod. So I'm just going to remove. Okay, we're going to move that over to there. There we go. You can see it. There we go. I'm shooting from inside the light tent. Okay, fuckers. So here we go. I've got my. This is my tripod. We're going to put it in place here, and we're going to put the camera on the tripod. So this is a really important step here, because you really, if you're shooting macro, fuckers, you've really got to have a tripod, because you're not going to. What we want is the shutter, a slow shutter speed, so we can get as much detail in our photo as possible. So I'm just fitting the tripod base to this camera. Okay, we'll put that on there. That's beautiful. Now I'm just gonna get this ready here. So this is the tripod. I'm just lowering the camera. So we're just gonna come down lower. There we go. We're gonna trying to get some nice shots of the wristwatch itself there. We can also use live view. Live view is a great thing to get this ready. So let's just I'll just bring this down as well here. I'm just adjusting all my tripods. I've got this little mini tripod which is actually filming me. I'm going to try and leave this in the corner here so we can actually film me photographing this stuff here. Okay, so now we've got live view on. We just want to tighten up our tripod once we get the product into adjustment there. It's a little bit further away. I want to bring that in a bit. I want to bring the camera a bit closer. We're just playing with some settings here. Okay, fuckers. Okay, let's have a look here. We'll just have a look how it's looking. Now, the next thing. So we've got the camera. It's all ready to go here. Now, I highly recommend for these shots, of course we're using such a slow shutter, you want to have a remote, okay? Because just bumping it, just pressing the button can be enough to bump the camera. So we want to get the best possible results we can. So let's have a look here. We'll just get this ready. I'll actually put this into. Now, what focusing mode? Well, you want, I can tell you now, fuckers, you really want single point focusing mode. You don't want. Now, let's just clarify this. What do we want? Focusing mode. Okay, so what setting do you use? You would be using, firstly, AFS, okay, because it's a still shot, okay? And then our focusing point itself there, we want a single dot for the middle. Okay, so that is our focusing point covered there. Now let's just have a look. We've got the single point. Okay, beautiful. The next thing we want to do is let's just line up our product. Just make sure it's really looking good. Okay, let's have a look here, fuckers. Now, the next thing I highly recommend is manual focus. Manual focus. That's right, fuckers. Put your camera into manual focus mode. And on the Nikon, I've got two things I need to adjust. There's a switch on the camera, and then there's a switch on the lens. So let's. I've also got a focus for the eyepiece itself there. So you might need to just take your time. You want to get this absolutely perfect. Okay, let's take a shot. Okay, that's not doing it because that's a very quick shot, fuckers. That's a quick shot. That's not doing it right. That is a That's not right. What's gone wrong? Okay, so we've lost our. We want the 2. We want the 2-second exposure, fuckers. That's what we want. 2-second exposure. Refocus. Okay, fuckers, let's have a look at that. I'm not happy. Not happy, Jan. It's getting better, but I want to lower the camera so it's more straight. So we'll bring the camera down a wee bit. And I'm just going to move the focus point so it's right in the middle now. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so we've got the watch. Now I'm just not happy with the bracelet, how it sets there. Sometimes to get the watch really nice and level, it's best to undo the clasp and let it all out. You seem to have more balancing control. You can sort of bring the bracelet out to stabilize it. So, okay, just, okay, we've got that beautifully done. I want to do focus. Okay, and now let's take a shot. Okay, that's quite a nice result actually. I quite like that. A little bit of glare. We still got fucking glare, fuckers. This is so finicky. It's so finicky. I want to show you how do I even get rid of that glare there. Just one tick. Okay, fuckers, we've got another piece here which fits onto the back of our tent here, which is going to stop, hopefully try and stop some of the glare here. So we're just going to stick this fucker on and let's see if we can reduce any of the glare even more. So just get our camera all ready there. Okay, so now we're going to put the shade down there. Okay, fuckers, what's happening? Okay, let's have a look at the results. And I think that's done it. So let's take a couple more of those there. It's always good to get a couple when you've got it perfect. Take a few shots there, fuckers. Okay, so we've done it. That's looking very, very good. So let's just recap on that. Number one, you need a remote for your camera. Very inexpensive for a Nikon and Canon. They've got, you know, these are under $20. You need a tripod. Your camera settings, you want a long exposure, so about 1 to 4 seconds. ISO, you can play around with it. I like to use 200. You can also use, you can go higher or lower if you think if it's too light or too dark, you could adjust that ISO setting. And the aperture, I like you want most stuff in focus. Now, fuckers, let's try another watch. I've got another watch here. What do we got? Let's go for the Reverso, fuckers. Let's go for the Reverso. So let's prep this fucker. It's always good to have a nice cloth, nice jeweler's cloth, just to give it a bit of a wipe over any smudgy fingerprints or just a smidgen of dust. It's a real shitter. It's a real shitter. And let's get this fucker in there. Okay, let's put it in. Place it. Let's get the camera on. Okay. Okay, so now I know I've got to actually bring the focusing point down a wee bit. Okay, that's fine. Now we want to focus. Manual focus. I think manual focus. Manual focus, it's pretty good shit, you know. You just gotta get it absolutely perfect, fuckers, because we want perfect shots on the ArchieLuxury channel. For you nasty fuckers there, that's what you want. Okay, that's looking good. Using the remote. Oops, we want to close the tent. Okay, we'll close the tent up. Close the tent. And how's that looking? Am I happy with that? What do I think? It's not too bad. I'll just try a couple more. Couple more. Always handy to have a couple more. Okay, so now let's that's two beautiful watches photographed there. Nicely done. I might just try the Breguet whilst we're at it, fuckers. What do you think? Can I get my, again, just give it a bit of a dust off there. We'll put that down. We'll get focus in a minute. Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, so that's with no shade down. Let's put the shade down and see if it improves. Okay, yep, I think the shade is making a bit of difference there. It's reducing. I like a little bit of glare. You can play around with it. That's what you have to do. So that's how it works on a DSLR camera. Doesn't really matter if it's full frame or DX sensor. It's not a huge problem there, fuckers. Not a huge problem. Not a huge problem at all, fuckers. I'll just take another couple of shots. Okay, fuckers. Now the next thing we want to do is this same technique can be used for other items. Let's just take a quick break and I'll bring back some more things to photograph.